Well, howdy folks. Welcome to the CB&Q and the CNNW in Wyoming. I'm Mark Pruitt, fireman. Today is the 3rd of July 2023 and this is layout update number 44. June was a fun and productive month. I got more of Grable built, adding yard tracks, getting them wired in, and placing more track on the swing gate. I also did a lot of work on the fencing around Rocky Mountain drilling. I finally finished the stock pens in Powder River, and on June 25th we celebrated the 3rd birthday of the layout. And finally, the layout hosted an operating session on June 27th. I left off last month with the Powder River stock pens nearing completion. The second week of June, I had the pens completed and ready to install. I carved away the plaster on top of the foam where the pens would go and hollowed out the foam a bit using a couple of hot wire cutters. Then I set the pens in place. Sometime this month, I might start blending them into the scenery by adding dirt, grasses, and such. I finished the pens about the middle of the month. Throughout the entire month, in between working on the stock pens and doing fencing around Rocky Mountain drilling, I continued working on the Grable trackage. I built and installed several turnouts in addition to a bunch of flex track. The 3rd week of the month had me wiring all that new Grable trackage and the beginnings of west staging, which is this track. Staging tracks are planned to be on a separate booster, so I needed to add a new power bus. That's the heavy yellow and blue wires. The red and green wires provide power for the Burlington mainline all around the layout. In the middle of the month, I also finally began extending the chain link fence around Rocky Mountain drilling. Here I've tacked most of the frame to my build template in preparation for soldering. The frame is made of nickel-silver wire, so it's really easy to solder. The template, by the way, was provided by my good friend Dave in Basin. Once the frame was complete, I sprayed one side with Super 77 adhesive and attached a roughly trimmed piece of Thule fabric, the stuff bridle veils are made of, to it. This is followed up by a light coating of tank tone paint. At this point, the fence section looks like this. Careful trim work with a hobby knife gave me the completed fence section. On June 15th, I started installing the new fence sections as I built them. First thing was to remove the long fence section that was installed last month and place grass tufts at the spot where all the fence poles are stuck in the ground. Dave made the tufts for me too. Once those tufts were placed, I reinstalled the fence section. Those grass tufts sure do make a difference, don't they? Over the next few days, I built and installed several more fence sections. By the 30th of June, I had the fence wrapped all the way around the building. I only have a few more sections to add to complete the fence around the property, but most of them will have to wait a while. The fence will cross the seam in the scenery that right now is just the edge to the left of the building, and that won't be done for the next month or two since I have to add the next section of backdrop and do a few other things first. But I'll continue working on the area to the right and behind the building. And speaking of the area behind the building, I finally shingled the small house that goes back there. The unshingled area in this shot sure looks rough, doesn't it? Not to worry, those shingles hide all the sins. Here half the roof has been done. And here's the finished roof. Roof details like the chimney and plumbing vents are still to come, then some weathering and the house is finished. I 3D printed the chimney for the house a few days ago. After I paint it, it will be ready to install. On June 25th, I posted the video for the 3rd birthday of the layout. I forgot all about that until just a couple days before, so I had to drop everything and spend almost 3 days putting this video together. The link to it is in the description. Well, you're nothing if not consistent.
Right, yes.
On the 27th, I hosted an operating session. Several folks from the local club attended, along with Kevin and his wife from Harriman, Wyoming, and Dave and his wife from Basin. Everyone had a good time, or at least that's what they told me, and we actually, for the first time, managed to complete almost the entire manifest of trains. This was the first session where the Burlington locals run out of Grable rather than Casper. That made the Casper yard operator's job much easier. All that new trackage brought one thing out. The layout is terribly short of both rolling stock and motive power. Many of the industries in Casper didn't see any work because there were no cars to switch to them. Before the next session in October, I need to build as many more cars as I can. I also need to acquire more motive power, but that's a longer-term task. After the session was finished, I spent a couple of days fixing a few issues that came up, like adding a missing power feeder in Grable. I did the house shingling and the Rocky Mountain drilling fencing I already talked about, but mostly I started extending west staging from Grable. Here I'm installing sub-road bed that will run under Douglas. Yesterday I added track to this new sub-road bed. This track will continue around and underneath Casper, where it will open into a 4 or 5 track staging yard. And believe it or not, folks, that's it for June. Productive, but not a lot of photographs. How many pictures can you take of wires? There's a whole lot of different things on the docket for July, including more work on west staging, maybe connecting the Cody Branch helix to the Franny end of Grable, and adding more trackage to Grable itself. Then, of course, there's building rolling stock. I'm also beginning to get an itch to go back and work on the Wind River Canyon again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next month.